Hello and welcome folks. Today we're playing Sunhaven, a cozy farming and township sim with the added interest of a magic system, draconic overlords, and a main story questline. It reminds me heavily of Stardew Valley, but with just enough differences to make things feel fresh and exciting. In this fantastical setting, you have many more customization options for your character, including 7 different playable races with unique aesthetics and moderately powerful racial abilities. You also have 4 large skill trees that allow you to tailor your abilities to your gameplay style of choice, which makes it feel quite satisfying and rewarding to do the things the way you like to do them. One of the biggest departures from the template used by Stardew Valley and other sims is a complete departure from the energy system. You don't have any energy to manage and can mine and hoe and fish all day to your heart's content. The energy system has been loosely replaced by magic and mana as the daily resource, as you can use magic to help you with a variety of tasks, all the way from standard combat spells to more interesting farming magic and even a few fishing spells. There is quite a lot that you can do in this game, which means it can be hard to settle in as a new player. So here are 28 useful things I learned during my first playthrough that I hope will help you better enjoy your time in Sunhaven. We'll get started with some tips that can help you as soon as you boot up for the first time and begin your playthrough. First, if you're the type of gamer who likes to agonize over making quote-unquote the correct decision in games like this, rest assured that almost no choice is necessarily permanent, and anything you don't like can be rectified later on. Right off the bat is the exciting and dreaded character creation, where you can choose from a plethora of different races with different abilities, customize your character's look, and even choose a starting profession, which gives you a boon in the form of increased stats, equipment, or gear depending on your choice. While these choices will affect the way you make it through the early game, don't stress about them too much, as you will be able to change basically everything about your character later on in the game, even including your race and thereby your racial ability. You'll be able to do this by repairing the town salon. Your starting profession can help shape the early hours of your game, but doesn't really have a huge bearing on the overall course of your game, so don't worry about making a poor choice. If in doubt, I'd suggest choosing the Explorer. The extra movement speed comes in very handy and is one of the hardest and most expensive things to replicate later on. 5% movement speed is worth about 500 community tokens, which can constitute almost a full season's worth of work. Most everything else offered in the other boons can be crafted and purchased without as much work. During the opening cinematic, an NPC named Lynn will chat with you and ask you about a charm on your belt. Your choice here will grant you your first Keepsake, which sits in one of your equipment slots and gives you a small bonus. All the different keepsakes you can choose here can be replaced by equal or better versions later in the game, so don't stress about this too much. That said, I suggest that you tell her that the charm grants riches, as the keepsake provided will give you 100 gold every time you sleep, which will be a great boost to your early game cash flow. Once you make it into town and are introduced to your farm, you'll be given the choice to select where you actually want to put your house. Once again, this choice is not permanent, though it is mildly difficult and expensive to relocate your house once it's placed, so choose well. I chose this spot and had no regrets, as it gave me quick access to all the various routes off the farm, which you will be using very frequently. The skill trees in this game are fairly vast and have a lot of different options to explore. There's no way to reset your skill points in-game without mods. However, you get 70 points just from leveling, more from doing quests, more from crafting, and you can ultimately buy as many skill points as you want using community tokens. So you can eventually get every skill in the game if you want to. So use your skills carefully, but don't worry too much about making a mistake. Make sure to take a look at the game customization options in the settings tab of the menu, as there are some things you can change here to massively adjust the way your game plays to fit your playstyle, and they can be changed as often as you want. One of the biggest things for me is the ability to change the real-time length of an in-game day. The default is 20 minutes per day, but you can change it anywhere from 15 minutes up to 40 minutes. Set it to 40 minutes for a super relaxed experience, or down to 15 minutes if you want things to mix up a lot more frequently. You can toggle whether or not seasonal pests will harry your crops and require to use scarecrows to protect them. You can toggle seasonal events that impact the daily maintenance of your crops. You can toggle whether seasonal creatures show up on your farm to begin events. This one I recommend you do leave on, at least for the first year, so you can experience everything. Last, you can even toggle invincibility for your character if you don't like combat and don't want any stress at all. Changes made to any of these settings really don't have any impact on things like achievements, so feel totally free to customize the game experience to what you'd like to have. One huge difference between this sim and others I've played is the importance it places on cooking and food. The main way you permanently increase your health, mana, damage, movement speed, and any other stat is not really from leveling, but from eating different types of food. Almost every type of food, from foraged berries to cooked sandwiches, will permanently increase one of your stats every time you eat it. The in-game information on this is a bit cryptic, but each food will tell you what stat it raises and by how much, whether it be a little or a lot. Each food can be eaten 100 times for stat bonuses, though they have strong diminishing returns, which means that you can get the most total benefit from each food by just eating a few of them. So to get the most bang from your buck, try to eat at least 3-ish of each rare or expensive food, maybe 5 to 10 of each uncommon food, and 20 or more of the common and plentiful food. You can check how many of each food you've already eaten from this menu here. You'll want to cook as much as you can in this game and not stash your food away like you maybe do in other games. So pull on a fresh pair of cooking shorts and cook your little head off. On the topic of cooking, if you can, try to grow at least 10 to 20 lettuce during your first spring. This can only be grown in the spring and is used in maybe a dozen or so good food recipes later on in your playthrough. Fairly early on in the main quest, you'll be offered the choice between a sword and a crossbow. I'd suggest you take the crossbow, as it's in my opinion not only a better combat option, but also harder to replace. You'll be offered several other swords pretty early on in the game, but crossbows are much harder to come by. Whichever option you pick for weapons, you'll want to invest some early combat skill points into the Fireball spell, as it will single-handedly carry you through an enormous amount of the game's early combat. Take at least one level of Fireball and pair it with rank 3 Intellect for damage scaling, and rank 3 Mana Conduit for mana restoration. With this combo of skills, you'll be able to one-shot almost anything early game practically for free. There are a number of skills that give you boons based on your friendship with the various romanceable NPCs in town. These are generally pretty powerful skills that I recommend you take, as they can scale very quickly right from the first few weeks of your playthrough. One of my favorites is getting community tokens when gifting NPCs, as at level 3 you will get 1 token for any gift, 2 for like gifts, and 3 for loved gifts. This can easily grant you 20 to 30 community tokens every day from the skill alone, which you can use to raise your stats or buy extra skill points. You can easily start building hearts with everyone in town by handing them a foraged fruit every time you see them. I always seem to have more apples than I knew what to do with, so they became my friendship fodder. They'll raise your friendship fast without needing to memorize what everyone needs or taking up too much inventory space. Later in the game, you can start being more considerate and thoughtful with liked and loved gifts if you want, but don't sleep on handing out daily gifts early game while you still get your bearings. Alright, now let's move on to some more general gameplay tips and information. With your hoe equipped, you can right-click to turn any dirt or tilled dirt back into grass to repair the look of your farm. You can also use right-click on a seed or a crop, even including dead crops, to recover that seed so you can replant it. This makes planting multi-harvest crops even more lucrative, as you can recover your seed once it dies at the end of the season for replanting next year. You can purchase animals and put them on your farm before you ever get a barn. Just put them down anywhere on your farm and let them happily free-range it. You can buy animal feed from Kitty's store for 100 gold each, or turn 1 wheat into 2 animal feed at your baker station. Milk and eggs are used in a lot of different cooking recipes that grant stats and sell for a lot, so invest in a few cows and chickens early to raise your stats and make some good coin. Once you reach 10 hearts with a villager, you can click on the heart icon next to their chat menu to ask them to date you, and thereafter you can earn up to 15 hearts with them. Romanceable characters don't get jealous of each other, so feel free to date around the whole town with no penalty whatsoever. At 15 hearts, you can ask them to marry you if you buy them a ring, which gives you a bonus depending on the character and the ability to earn up to 20 hearts with them. Polygamy doesn't seem to be legal in Sunhaven, so you can only be married to 1 villager at a time. If you later feel like you made a mistake, you can always stop by the town hall to serve your spouse their divorce papers. In the house of every romanceable character, you can find and read their diary to get a list of items that they like for gifts. This fills in a spot in your social tab, so you can thereafter look it up on the go when you're trying to hand out gifts. Unlike Stardew Valley, you can quit your game at any time. When you load back up, everything will be just as it was when you quit, except you'll be in your house. This can actually be used as a quick travel system if you so wish. Do note, however, that quitting the game will cancel any active buffs you have, like the XP per hour buff you gain from eating jam. If you quit the game anytime after 11 PM, when you load back up, the clock will be pushed back to exactly 11 PM. So you can use this to squeak a few extra minutes out of your day if you have some last-minute crops to get planted or something similar. Clicking on a location name in your map will center it on your map screen so you can easily locate where you're looking for when you first get to town. All the romanceable villagers have icons that appear on your minimap at all times of day, so you have no need to memorize their schedules. Once you gather all the items needed for a quest and have them in your inventory, the turn-in NPC's location shows up on your map as a question mark, so you can easily hunt them down to turn it in. Everything in your house can be pickaxed to pick it up and move it, including your bed, lighting, and even your windows. You can also pickaxe everything that comes in a barn, allowing you to turn it into an open-plan storage shed, which you can use as a workshop for your crafting stations or whatever else you'd like to do with it. When placed, barns come equipped with feeding stations, which can be pickaxed and brought outside to feed all your free-range animals. You can buy and place an auto feeder outside your farm to refill these feeding stations automatically. It took me an embarrassingly long time to realize that while in the mines, these types of rocks will always drop coal. They sort of blend in with some of the common rocks, so keep a sharp eye out. There are a lot of forageable items around town and in the surrounding forests, which include fruits, money bags, and monotomes to permanently increase your mana. I like to take a day once a week to explore all the areas and collect all these items, as it's well worth the time spent. Once per week, interacting with the town fountain will award you with +4 mana permanently. There's also a wishing well just outside of town to the east behind a snackoon that gives +5 mana per week. Visiting these early and regularly gives you a very healthy mana boost that will really boost your early game and keep paying off long term. I could go on, but I hope these 28 tips give you some idea of what to expect from this game and help you settle into the town of Sunhaven. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like and consider subscribing to the channel for more gaming tips. And until next time, happy gaming!